Hi, everyone. My name is Anthony Caruso III, and I am the publisher of the Capital Sports Report. I am also the host of the Capital Sports Report Live. First, before we begin, I would like to play a little video of our guest tonight in Golden Child when she was racing at Beach Bend Raceway Park in her No Prep Kings, Street Outlaws No Prep Kings car. Welcome to the show tonight, Paige Coughlin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming back on the show because last year you were on the show as well. And
Hmm.
we talked about you making this leap, but last year it was a little delayed because you made the leap this year to No Prep Kings. But
That's right.
first, I would like to mention that here in the Northeast, we have are mourning the loss of Atco Dragway. Another track has gone away here in New Jersey, and we have Atco Dragway going away. A few years ago, we lost Oak Ridge Township Raceway Park. Paige, I know that you were there a few years ago because I personally talked to you at that facility when you were racing in Top Dragster Super Comp with your brother when he was doing Top Alcohol Dragster for the McPhillips racing team. Paige, what are your thoughts on Atco Dragway going away?
Truly when I saw that post on Facebook, it broke my heart in such a different way because I've had memories there, and I've bracket raced there, I've ran divisional races there, and Division 1 is a place we always gravitated towards when we wanted to do out of divisions. And my brother ran for the McPhillips team, and he won the divisional and Top Alcohol. So I think back at ATCO, and I think about that one race we were at. It was a divisional. We had Josh Hart in the final of Top Alcohol Dragster. I probably lost like first round. I was no good. And TJ was still holding strong, and he was running Top Dragster, and he didn't even qualify. So we were like, all right, TJ, you're carrying the flag. Like we gotta take a win home. So we ended up just like completely destroying the motor in this Top Alcohol car in the semifinals. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But the McPhillips, they are such a strong and impressive group. The way that we all kind of came together and turned this car around. I remember, like, I might not be an expert on doing certain tasks or being able to swap a motor like these guys are, but I loved being able to help out. It was me and my other crew chief, Justin Beaver. We were helping the team out, and just I always loved being around the McPhillips guys. They're just an awesome group of people. And when we made it up to the final, and Josh Hart, I think, smoked tires off 60 foot, and we're all just yelling and jumping, and Justin and I ran out probably past the 60 foot, and he's throwing me up in the air. And I'll never forget how exciting that was, because I knew how hard everybody had worked to make this happen, and for us to turn on that win light that weekend was just something I'll never forget. It was so exhilarating, so exciting, and just to be at a racetrack like ATCO was it was a nice facility. I always loved being there. I wish I was able to race there more, and I've had so many other people tell me about their experiences at ATCO, and to see that abrupt close of that racetrack just makes my heart really sad, because I don't like seeing racetracks close down. And we've had that here locally. We had the Palm Beach International Raceway closed down not too long ago, and even that was really sad. It's these become second homes to people, and this is partially where they grew up, and for that to be taken away, it's like a part of your childhood or your core memories are taken away with it, and it makes me really sad. So I strive to support the tracks that we do have. I think it's exciting, and we want to continue to grow our sport and support it in any way that we can. And I know that at least down here, in South Florida, we have an amazing group of people who are fighting to kind of reverse the whole PBIR deal, and I know the county is working in some different ways to get a racetrack back in South Florida, but I hope that something similar can happen near ATCO. No, I don't know why they were shut down so abruptly. I really don't know the whole story, but I really hope that something can come back to that area because, you know, it was such a fun, neat town to race in, and I would really love to be able to go back, and I hope that something else could be either brought back in its place or if ACO could be reopened at some point in the future. And I just really hope that's something that can happen.
Yes, right now it's all uncertain, and we don't know. Supposedly it was a sale, but there's like very little details, and it's like everything is secret. So nobody
Mm-hmm.
really knows what's going on. It's just like, oh, it's shut down, but there was supposed to be a test and tune yesterday, and then all it was like a few hours later, oh, it's over. Like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
Shame. It's a shame for sure. You don't want to see that. And gosh, even with like some of the other tracks that have closed, like English Town. And I hope that there's the tracks that we do have, I hope they don't face these problems in the near future. And I really hope that we can support what we got and fight for what we're losing and show the community that there's plenty of ways to get involved in the world of drag racing. Yeah, the cars might be loud, but it's exciting and it's fun. Just come give it a try. Come out and watch. It's these facilities they're not just catering to the racers, it's catering to the community too. And we want everybody to be involved. And I know that's something that I always talked about when it came to the racetrack in South Florida that they're talking about building. I'm like, you want everybody to be involved in some level. And I truly think ATCO was the same way. I think everybody could come and enjoy it. And it wasn't just the racers, it was spectators too. And I really hope that it's something that I hope there's a little hope in the future for ATCO or the area that ATCO is in, because I really did love racing over there.
And like you said, this is another track that goes by the wayside, and on the national tour, they were just at Bandimere Speedway, and that's going away. You had Atlanta going away, Houston going away. It's just a lot of tracks are people saying drag racing is dying. It's crazy because people who have all these money, companies have all this money in there, either buying the land or uh, doing something with it, and it's like, why are you taking our sport away?
Yeah, yeah, I've definitely heard a lot about that. And I was so scared. I think before I came into MPK, I was really, really nervous and scared and anxious that our sport was dying and that, we weren't going to have very many places to race anymore. And that really saddened my heart. And I went to an MPK event and I saw how many fans were there to really watch some drag races and to meet the drivers and to be a part of the experience. And I'm like, MPK gave me the hope that this sport is not dying, that all these people look at all these people. The stands are packed, the starting line's packed. They want to come out and watch these cars race, and they want to talk to the drivers, and they want to be involved. And that gave me hope that this sport is not dying. Just look at all these people who are here to watch. And I think that's what really intrigued me about MPK at first, is like I didn't know what truly it was like because I had never been to an event before. Like I grew up watching Street Outlaws on TV, but never been to an event. So when I went for the first time in Maple Grove, the year they came back from COVID, my mind was blown. I could not believe the amount of people that were there. The line to get into the racetrack was absolutely insane. The stands were packed, people walking everywhere, and you could go up to the drivers and talk and get autographs and pictures and merch. And I'm just like, man, this is so cool. Like I've never seen something like this before because NHRA was so different. And I mean, I grew up running the sportsman class, which is it's not a professional level by any means, but that was very racer oriented. And then when you would go to the national events, yeah, you would see a bunch of fans, but I mean, it was nothing like what I experienced at an MPK race. And I'm just like, man, this is so cool. And that's what really intrigued me and I really wanted to be a part of something like that, just because I loved how everybody could be involved at some level in some shape or way. And I really liked how, y'all came together to watch the drag racing and be a part of it.
I'm going to touch on Ohio in a little bit, but really this win that you had in MPK propelled you to where you are today in the Invitational. So I'm going to bring it back to Beach Bend Raceway Park a few races ago, back in June. You, in the final round, you faced a guy named Clay Cowell and you defeated him.
Mm-hmm.
So could you talk about that moment and how that moment in the futures class has propelled you into a racer for the invitational? I'm going to touch on you being added to Daddy Dave's team in a few minutes. So can you just like kind of focus on the futures win over Clay Cole, and then I'll ask you about eventually joining Daddy Dave's team.
Sure. So rolling into Bowling Green, I've raced there plenty of times before for divisionals. I always really liked that track. I think it has so much character and history to it. So I was already super excited to be there. And gosh, I rolled in and I'm like, man, it's my birthday weekend. I really want to do something here. We've had first round losses every single race so far, but it's like they were all so close. And I'm like, I can't believe it. Like, some of the times I ran first round and I'm like, how did my win light not come on? Like, what? I thought I won because I'm like, I didn't see the other guy, but it's just because these guys are all fast and they're all experienced and they know what they're doing and they have fast race cars. And that was something I was still learning. So when I saw my first round win light come on against Jennifer Brook, which she's a good friend of mine, I couldn't believe it. I got in the intercom and I was like, oh my Atlanta, we just won. Like, we won first round. Like, this is it, guys. Like, I was so proud that we turned on that win light. I was like, I'm happy. I'm happy. You know what? If we don't turn on another one this weekend, y'all be disappointed. But, like, I'm still proud that we made a step closer or a step further in improvement. So we went up for second round. I think there was only 5 of us. So I had the bye. And gosh, that was one of the craziest slaps I'd ever made because we had an air fitting break on the hose. So car left, made an absolute beautiful lap, and it never shifted. And, once I finally heard it, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Just get out of it, pull the chutes. It's not worth it. It's a bye run. And as soon as I pulled the chutes, it's like nothing happened. And because there was no air to blossom the chutes out, so it was kind of waiting for the air to kind of pick them up and catch them. And I'm like, that was the craziest ride because the car is going like this all over the place, staying in my lane. But it was just wild because it's like you're in the car and it's going so fast, but you're going in slow motion at the same time because I'm sitting there and I feel this thing start to sashay. And I just let go of the steering wheel and I look over and I see the wall and I'm like, let's not do that today. This car is way too pretty to get that close to the wall. So when you're letting the steering wheel's going back and forth like this and you're just kind of like holding it there, but you're not, driving it. And it sorted itself out. And I was like, if I wasn't awake and on my game before, I was after that round because that woke me up 110%. But we came back, we fixed it, and I think we ended up changing the transmission as well. And we go up for the final round, and Clay Cole is it's always an honor to race him because he was the first person that I raced back at National Trails, and he won and gave me the absolute biggest hug, telling we were so proud of our debut. To then be able to get to run him in the final to Bowling Green, and just knowing that that is a great group of people. His daughter is super duper nice, and she's super passionate about all things cars, which I found to be really cool. And to know that no matter what, whether my win light turned on or not, that I was racing against someone who I knew was fast, was talented, they got a good group behind them, and I was just happy to be there. And when I saw my win light turn on, I almost had to do a double take because I didn't believe it at first. It's been a couple years since I've parked a car in the winner's circle. So it felt surreal. And I got out of that car and I'm just kind of like standing there, not knowing what to do with myself. And I see Clay get out, and I think I just run up to him and give him like such a big hug and say like great lap. He kind of told me he had some stuff going on with his car, and I said, well, I'm just glad everybody's safe, and we stayed in our own lanes, and he was just so happy for me that I was able to turn on a win line. I was just like taken aback by how nice he was, and I was just like, this is so cool. Just great sportsmanship all around. I couldn't believe it. So my guys come pick me up and they hand me a nice cold beer, and I'm like, man, this feels so good. And we took it to the scales and we had water dumped on me. And my dad started a tradition back when he was racing where if he won, he always drove it back. And Erica decided to pick up on that. So I was like, you know what? This is my dad's tradition. I'm going to do it too. And I drove it back. I drove it back to the pits, and, we got our pictures taken, and we were all just super excited and exhausted and overwhelmed. And we're just can't even believe that happened. But I still think about it. I like to go back and watch the videos, especially the one you played, and just hearing all the cheers and the excitement behind that starting line, and just kind of replayed in my head saying, you know what it takes to go out and win a race. So just continue to go do that no matter who you're racing, just one lap at a time. So it was surreal.
Yes, and I was trying to bring up your Facebook post, but it is not allowing me. So I'll just read it. So Paige posted on her Facebook page after the win. She says, "First MPK win in the books for Golden Child. It was such an unreal feeling seeing that win light turn on. My team worked their butts off to help get this car to the final, and I'm beyond proud of all the hard work. We had Clay Cole in the final, and he is a tough racer. Always an honor to race with him. Last year, my friend Jess passed away, and I said my first win would be for her. So this win is dedicated to Jess. Fly high, beautiful." So, can you touch on your comment you made there?
Yeah. So last year, gosh, it was right before an NPK race that I was planning to go to, actually. To watch. I had a friend who lived down in Florida. Her name was Jess, and I had met her a couple months ago prior to her passing, or gosh, less than a year. And she was just something else. She was so special, and I remember she went out of her way to make my 22nd birthday just one I'll never forget. I had such an amazing time, and we lost her too soon. She passed away from an asthma attack, and she was my age. She was 23, and I just decided that, you know what, she was so excited about Golden Child. She bought a tank top and a hat from me when I first had my apparel out, and she was such a big supporter. And we would be at PBIR together watching all of our other friends race, and to know that she is always up there, when you see the sky and it's just beautiful with all the colors. And I was actually looking at Bowling Green. I was standing in the staging lanes, and I was looking down, or not looking down, but looking up. And in the sky, there was like this array of light where everything else was kind of like dark and orange. There's just this beautiful array of light, and it just immediately made me think of her. And I felt like she was with me when I won that race, and she would have been just so excited if she was here with us still. So I really wanted to dedicate a race to her. I said last year that my first win was going to be for her. And I really wish she was still here to celebrate with us, but I know that she's here in spirit. And she was just always a really special girl and supported me from the day that I met her. So that win was for her.
So I put your comment on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
After your Bowling Green win, you before the Epping, New Hampshire race, you got caught up to the big time. So, what was that like to join Daddy Dave's, the People's Choice team, where you Caleb Morton, and Daddy Dave, and the others on that team? You replaced Kyle Cannon. Is that how you
Canyon.
say it? I guess he had. Well, I've heard that he had some problems with his car. I don't know if that's true. So you were caught up for the Epping, New Hampshire Invitational that we'll see in the fall. So what was that like to get the call up to the big time?
Oh my goodness. So I rolled into Epping and I'm like, okay, we just keep doing what we're doing, like I didn't have any expectations of being called up whatsoever. And I was like, all right, we'll just enter the race. I actually had already talked to Clay Cole and Jimmy Taylor. I'm like, hey, you guys, if you need grudge matches, let me know. I always text Clay Cole first. That's what I've always done in the future class. And I got a text message Friday in the morning, and it was from Sam, the producer. And I'm
Okay.
still
Sam
in my
Cor-
pajamas. What was that?
His name's Sam Corcus.
Yes. And I was still in my pajamas. I had my hair wrapped up in this contraption that I do. I take like 2 knee-high socks and tie them together, and I curl my hair around it and I sleep on it. So I still have it pinned up, and I look like freaking Goldilocks. Cindy Lou Who from The Grinch. That's what they always tell me I look like. But I'm standing in my bathroom, like brushing my teeth, washing my face, and I see this text message, and I'm like, what on earth? And he's telling me, hey, I'd like to pull you up to the reserve class. We're having a meeting at 3 p.m. on the starting line. Will you join us? And I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to say no. Of course I'll be there. And I was just like shocked because it's not what I was expecting. And so I run out of the trailer in my pajamas and my hair, and I run out to my guys. They were taking a golf cart ride. And I showed them the text, and I did my little happy dance. I'm jumping up and down because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're like, this is huge for us. Like, not expecting it. I'm super excited. And so I finally got dressed, talked to fans, like took pictures, like sold some merch, signed autographs. And around 3 p.m., I rolled up, and it was me, Calvin, Franco, and Doc. And it was just 3 of us in the reserve class. So I was like, okay, sounds good. So all of the team captains stood up there, and we were introduced. It was filmed, and they kind of went down the line of the team captains, and they kind of picked who they want, or if they didn't want anybody, or like if they wanted to stay the same. So Damon was subbing in for Bodie because Bodie couldn't make that race. So Damon like kind of took over the captain position for that weekend, and so he picked up Doc. And I was like, okay. So then by the time it gets to Daddy Dave, I was like, okay. I'm still standing there, like, not knowing what to do. Like, I'm just happy to be there at this point. Like, I thought this was just so cool. And he goes, I think I'm going to pick up Paige Coughlin. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, like, cool. I mean, I'll take that. Sure. And, like, I'm like almost not knowing what to do with myself because I'm 1, shocked, and 2, super duper excited. And so I'm like, okay. So I walk over there and I shake his hand, and everybody else had passed, so they weren't making any changes to their team roster. And Kyle Canyon couldn't make that race, and I don't know for sure like what the reason was, but he had enough points to where I didn't have to race my way in. I was automatically in the invitational on Saturday. So I was like, oh, okay. Like I went 2 for 2. I got asked up onto a team, and I'm in the show. Like, I will take it. That is so cool. And, Team Daddy Dave was leading the points, and now they're leading the points. And, all those drivers were already on the show. So nobody from Team Daddy Dave had to race their way in. So I'm like, okay, no pressure. And so I come back to my pit area, and, the camera people, like, such a great group, by the way. I absolutely loved working with them. Jensen, especially, was just so, he was just hyped me up and told me I was doing such a good job. And he would just kind of like give me like little tips and pointers. And I'm like, I am so awkward, but this is so appreciated. Like, I was probably like, I feel like sometimes I'm the awkward kid in the back, and I didn't really know what to expect. Growing up in the NHRA kind of scene where I watched my family members kind of conduct themselves in front of cameras in a different way. That's what I learned to do, to now come over to MPK, and it's like, throw all of that out the window. This is completely different. So I was like, okay, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing, but just wing it. You'll be fine. And so that's what I did. And Kayla came over and asked me if I wanted to grudge match her. And I'm like, I think I was more nervous to grudge match Kayla on Friday than I was to run first round against Robin Roberts. And
I'm gonna
which
mention that here in a second.
yeah, it was unbelievable, but I just couldn't believe that Kayla Morton was coming up and asking me if I wanted to grudge match her. I was like, yeah. Like I was speechless. Like the poor camera crew, I had asked them to start over because I couldn't get words out the first time. And it was so awkward that I was like, oh, we got to redo that. I'm so sorry. We got to redo that. I got to be better. I'm just taken aback by everything going on and how excited I am and how nervous I am at the same time. And I just can't believe this is happening. So it was such a cool experience. That team has been so welcoming. They cheered me on. I absolutely loved getting to kind of watch Kayla go all the way to the final and just kind of support them and stand with them during chip draws. I don't know. It was just, they made me feel like a part of the team, even though I was the new kid on the block.
You mentioned that you were like nervousness, and you were like, hold up, but I'm not doing so well with this. Can we do it over? Did they allow you to do that?
Yeah, I think like they were just trying to get some like tidbits and whatnot. And I'm like, I didn't know exactly how all of it worked yet, so I'm still learning. And I was like speechless. So I'm like, oh, I really wanted to respond. Like, I can do so much better. Is it okay if I try again? And they all just started laughing and said yes. And I was like, okay, bless your hearts. Like, that was so embarrassing. But it really was cool. That was such a good group to work with. I really appreciated their patience with me as I was kind of like trying to break an old habit or like retrain my brain to be like, oh, you know what? You're allowed to be yourself here. You're allowed to kind of express your emotions and be your own person and have your own character shine through. And that's just not something I was used to. So I was kind of like having to like rip off the band-aid in a sense where I was just so used to being like a certain way for NHRA, and this is so different. And it's kind of refreshing. It's different, and I really like it. And as the day went on, I got better and better. And just hearing like Jensen's pump up, like little pep talks he gave me were so awesome. And he'd always be like, good job. He came to me before I made the run, after I came the run. I mean, we talked, and I'm like, these guys are great. These guys are great. They're like cheerleaders, and I absolutely love it. And they were so supportive, and I felt so welcomed and so comfortable, like working with these guys, talking to these people. Like, I didn't feel so much out of my element. I just felt like, okay, you know what? This may be new to you and you're stepping a little bit outside your comfort zone, but embrace it. And these people are excited to have you here and they're cheering you on, which is cool. So I really, really liked working with them.
I know when I posted that you were in the invitational, please don't hate me, but I'm sure you maybe saw these comments that people were making. They were like, oh, it's all Jegs money.
You know what? I have gotten comments like those ever since the day that I started racing. And that's okay. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I'm not going to try to persuade you otherwise. And before I really got into the MPK stuff, it really bothered me. And you know what? I really struggled with it at first just because I am the type of person who wants to please everybody and make everybody happy because it makes me happy. And over that year it took for my car to get done, I grew another layer of skin because now if you want to say comments like that, then that's totally fine. That doesn't hurt my feelings. You know what? If you feel that way, then that's okay. I'm not going to try to change your mind. I mean, I know what I stand for. I know who I am. I am Paige Coughlin. Troy Sr. is my dad, and Troy Jr. is my brother, but I am my own person. And one of the things that I like to remind myself is we all put our pants on the same way. So I'm no better than anybody else's, and just kind of remind myself of that. Is like, you know what, these people, not everybody's gonna like you, and the sooner you learn to be okay with it, the better, because that's how it's gonna be in every aspect of your life. You can't please everybody, and it did take me a hot minute to learn that, but you know what, the amount of positive feedback and support that I have had from fans since this started has been amazing. I love talking with them on social media and then getting to meet some of them in person. It's just such an unreal experience that I've never, kind of experienced before. And I wouldn't trade that for the world. So, you know what? I have a lot of people in my corner, and I cherish every single one of them. And to know that there are people online who support me, who support Golden Child, they're happy to see us out there, and they always have something awesome to say. It just makes it worth it. The fans is what keeps us going, and I really give all the credit to them, especially all of the overwhelming support and positivity they've had towards us coming in, because there was a perception of like, oh, it's a Coughlin, it's linked to Jegs, it's the last name, it's the family company, and it's going to be a full-blown professional team with a crazy setup and this and that. And I'm like, we showed up to that race just like four or five of us, me, my dad, Mike Reese, Justin Beaver, my boyfriend Johnny, and myself. So 5 including the driver, or 6 including the driver. And I think people were a little shocked by that. I didn't have an 8-person team. And if some drivers want to have that, totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But what I have right now, it works. We have a rig that we love, Big Red. Just put her on a shirt. Yeah, I just got this, so I'm like super excited. There's samples, so I've had a lot of people saying they want one, so they are coming, I promise. Hopefully in like a week or so. Hopefully by Tulsa I'll have them. But you know what? These guys have been with me since I started racing, or have known me since I was little. We work together well as a team. We all know each other, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't think it's a full-blown professional deal, and we're all just there to have fun and kind of wing it, and we're learning as we go. And we're not seasoned NPK racers and team. We're figuring it out. We're newbies, and we're kind of learning the lay of the land. And I just think it makes it more personal, more special. So, you know what? People just haven't had the full opportunity to get to know me as a person, instead of what my last name is or who I'm related to. And I think the more and more I put myself out there, and the more I get to race, maybe I'll change some minds.
Yes, and Paige has told me this, and she no longer works at Jegs. So everyone who thinks it's Jegs Money that's doing this, there's your answer. She doesn't have any involvement with Jegs.com anymore. Well, in a way she does, but not.
I still love to work on some marketing stuff. I know my cousin likes to she runs the social media channels, and I think that's awesome. They've been doing a really great job, and it's something that I would love to be able to do in the near future, is to help, kind of bring some awareness to NPK. And I think that is such a great market. So I'm super excited to be able to be the Coughlin who is kind of stepping into unknown territory for the 3 generation of drag racers that we call family. But I worked at Jegs throughout high school and college. That was like my home away from home. If I wasn't at school, I was at work. If I wasn't at home, I was at work. That's all I did. And the group of ladies that I worked with were just absolutely amazing. Still talk to them to this day. We always keep in touch. And especially my boss, Shirley Carter. We were all in accounts payable together. And she is just such a special woman to me. Her and her husband. Her husband was actually the starter for the National Trails NPK season opener. So it was even more like heartwarming to know that Shirley and her husband were there for my first race, and Shirley's watched me grow up. She knows my dad and the brothers really well. I call her a part of my family, and I love her to death. So I don't know. I love Shirley, but she helped me learn what I needed to learn to be able to do my job today. So I run all things accounts payable, accounts receivable. I'm HR, I'm PR. I also work in the shop, a machine shop. It's called J&J Racing Engines out of Jupiter, Florida. And if I'm not on the computer typing away or making posts on social media, I am in the shop helping, repair motors, take them apart, build them back up, machining blocks, cleaning blocks, and just even airboats. Like that was something that was so foreign to me as someone who grew up in the Midwest. I was like, what on earth? Or swamp buggies too. And I'm like, I had no idea this was a thing. And these customers bring their airboats, like their motors, to the shop. And I'm like, oh my Lord, like, what is that? And it's really, really cool what they do with them. They race them and they go so fast. And I'm like, it's just really neat. So it's just, I get to learn something new every single day, and I really enjoy doing it. And I wouldn't be able to do a lot of that job without Shirley. So I don't know. I love what I do. Even if it's not with Jags, I still love what I do.
Paige, when you were racing in Epping, New Hampshire, close to the end of June, when you were called up to Daddy Dave's team, in the first round, you defeated a heavy hitter in the sport, a
Mm-hmm.
multiple time winner in the sport, and Robin Roberts, who's part of Team Ryan Martin. Then the following race, after you defeated Robin Roberts, you defeated Doc, who got called up to Team Bodie in the second round. It was the first time both of you guys have, well, first invitational race for both of you guys. And then in the third round, you unfortunately lost to the points leader right now, Damon Marchant. What was that day like for you when you were going rounds in your very first race on the MPK tour?
I was, first of all, very nervous. I think anybody would be. But one thing I kept hearing was no pressure. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no pressure at all. Like, okay, I'm dying over here, but it's fine. Um, Gosh, I go up for the chip draw, and I'm just kind of like standing up there. Everybody else knows what they're doing. I'm totally winging it. And I'm talking with my teammates, and I pull Robin Roberts, and I'm like, whoa, okay. He's very successful. He's fast. He's well known. He's a heavy hitter, like you said. And I'm like, okay, but just go race your races one round at a time. Like, no need to get all worked up. You already ripped the Band-Aid off yesterday with Kayla Morton. You're not nearly as nervous. So we go, get our cars, bring them back, get suited up. We tell each other, good luck, be safe, good race, or good luck to you. And I'm like, okay, all of these people in the stands where you can see them kind of sit like this, and I'm like, looking at that, I never thought I would race with so many fans watching me. It was unbelievable, hard to describe that feeling. And every time I walked up there, I said, every time I see how many people are in the stands, it just reminds me of how blessed that I am, and thankful for the opportunity to drive this car and to just remotely be there with such a legendary group of racers like Robin Roberts, Ryan Martin, Daddy Dave, OGs like Murder Nova. I'm just kind of like, I'm here. I'm racing with these guys. Somebody pinch me because this isn't real. And I'm like, mind blown. And I even said that to somebody. I said, if you ever forget how blessed and thankful you are, all you have to do is walk up on that starting line and just spin around and look at all these people who are here to watch you and cheer you on. And I'm like, that's just simply amazing. And so I'm in the car suited up. I do my burnout, and the people on the starting line, Daddy Dave had ran before me. And I'm like, okay, you need to get points for this team. You know, they picked you, no pressure. And I did my thing. I ran my race one round at a time, and I did the exact same routine that I would any other lap. And, in that car, I find something at the very end of the racetrack to stare at, like to help me go straight. My dad always said, just find a little something to look at just to kind of help make sure you're going straight. Because, when you look this way, your hands are going to go this way. If you look this way, it's going this way. And same thing in the bracket car. So that's what I did. And I just kept going straight, put my hand up to my parachute and I'm driving it, feeling it. You feel it in your butt more than anything, which is so amazing. But I saw my wind light come on. And I'm like, did that really just happen? Like, I was like, what? I had to do a double take, and I got on my radio and I'm like, oh my gosh, we won. We won. We beat him. So I get out of the car and I'm like sweating. My hair is a disaster. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I'm like wigging out. And I go over him and so I'm like, good race. Glad everybody's safe. Everybody's thankful that we stay in our own lanes. We try to do that the best that we can every single lap. But I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe I won because Robin Roberts is someone, he's a good racer and all these guys are fast, but I know what he's capable of. No pressure. So we go back up. I draw Doc second round, and I've made some laps against him, like in some Friday night grudge matches before. And he turned that red light on like big time against me, which happens. And so I just did my thing, made my lap. Great run. That car was straight as an arrow. Can't complain. Felt great. And I'm like, okay, yeah. It's like a little test lap for me going into the third round. And I get out and talk to Doc a little bit. And I'm like, so we just made it past second round. This is my first time in the Invitational, first time on a team. I've beaten Robin Roberts, and I made it past Doc. And I'm like, all right, okay. I wasn't expecting this. I was just proud to be there. Like I said in Bowling Green, I was so proud to be there. And I'm like, already, well, we're going up for chip draw third round. And I drew Damon. I'm like, this should be fun. This should be interesting because he's been the absolute talk of the town. He's been fast, hard to beat, and he's not on Team Daddy Dave. So I'm like, okay, this will be good. Like, honestly, it'll be such a neat race no matter what happens, just because I couldn't believe I was racing against him. But gosh, we had such a close race. Like, I stayed with him. I gave him a run for his money. And I got out of the car and I said, why do you have to be so fast? And he just looked at me and laughed. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. And, I'd love to be able to race him again because I think he's competitive. He knows what he's doing. He's fast. He might have hurt something that lap. I remember sitting in the car, scooting my butt. I'm like, go faster, because I could see him out in front of me, like, just enough to where I'm like, you need to go faster. And there was nothing I could do, but oh my gosh, it was a good round. My car ran absolutely beautiful. No complaints. I was just speechless, absolutely speechless to go to third round, to gain some points for Team Daddy Dave, and to say that I made it that far in my very first invitational race, I think is a huge accomplishment for not only myself, but for my team. Mike and Justin gave me such a beautiful car. And my boyfriend Johnny likes to come and hang out or help out on the car. He knows his way around a car. And he's helped change transmissions. And I also like to call him my golden child assistant manager, because he manages everything when it comes to like apparel and display and merch. He's really good at it, and I'm not. So like, he's much better at it than me. So he's always there supporting me, and just to know how hard all these guys really worked, and just the fact that we were there racing with these guys and we made it this far, and not everyone could say they made it as far as I did that race. It was just really something special. And I think we kind of ended that first stretch with a win. I mean, we literally won Bowling Green, but like that was such a win in my book to get to third round and to lose to like, even though we did lose, it was like to like one of the fastest cars right now. And, you know, it might not be for long. You know, maybe I'll go faster than him and I'll turn on my win light and he'll be like, now why are you so fast? Be like, that's a great question, Damon. But no, I respect him. I have a lot of respect for him, and he is a good driver, and credit to him and his team for, you know, how well they've done and making this car go fast and showing up to the races and just doing what they're doing. So major respect for him and his team. But I was on cloud 9 is what I described it previously, that I'm like, I can't believe we did all that. And just to know that so many people said good job and they were watching me and the fans, how they're yelling at me to come over and sign. I'm just like, this is so cool. No one ever wanted my signature before, like, because I wasn't cool, like remotely cool in NHRA. We were the like bottom of the food chain. That's what I always called sportsmen, even though sportsman was literally so tough. All those drivers are insanely talented over there. I had my butt kicked so many times, it's not even funny. But to know that these people wanted my autograph, wanted pictures with me, wanted my Golden Child t-shirt or a sticker or a hat, and I'm just like, this is like such an unreal experience. It's not something I've ever felt before. And I'm like, man, you know, I was exhausted after 5 weeks. And then I had like a week off where I'm like mentally reset. And now I'm just like, can we hurry up to August? Because I want to go back racing. Both of my guys have texted me saying like, this is way too long of a break. We need to go back. And we're all itching to go. And Johnny has even been like, yeah, let's go to all the races. Let's book them now. Like, let's do this. Let's do that. And I'm like, all right, yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. Like we're booking all the flights and we're making arrangements because we work together and just making sure that we have our work done before we go racing and all that. It's been a blast, and 5 weeks was a lot, but man, I want to go back so bad. I want to go back. I don't know what to do with myself when I don't race, especially after such an exhilarating 5 weeks. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. Like, free time? What's that? Relaxation? I don't know her. So I'm like, it's time to go back. Let's test or something. Let's just go.
But unfortunately, you can't race right now because they're filming some other shows that will be debuting next year.
Yeah, but that's okay. You know what? The guys needed a break. It's great so that they were able to, you know, hang out with families, kind of do a little bit of a reset, regroup, you know, kind of put together the car. You know, there's been a couple things that we're going to try and some testing later on. And because all these guys are fast and we have to be able to keep up with them. And I know that we're capable of doing it. And we like to make those steps to where they're just like this. It's like you're learning how to walk. And I'm a new driver. Mike's not a new tuner, but we're doing this together and it's both new to us. So taking those baby steps has not only like taught me what different, like it helps me learn and to know what to feel. And instead of just throwing me in something and saying, good luck, we'll see you on the other end, it's really kind of made me sit back and learn and to feel and to listen and to recognize what's going on and how to drive. Oh, the car does this. Okay, maybe try driving it like this. And like my dad is talking to me and explaining to me different ways. I'm like, oh, if you start to feel the car go towards the wall, just do this with your hands or do this with your feet. And I'm like, you make this look so flippin' easy. And then there's me. Like, I can, like, picture it, and I can see these other drivers doing it like a piece of cake. And then I get out there, and I'm like, oh, my Lanta, this is so hard. Like, it's not hard, but it is hard at the same time. And it's challenging. It's challenging to drive these cars. They don't just go in a straight line like sometimes people might think. And you got to drive them. You got to drive them. And you have to learn and to know what certain things feel like in order to make decisions so that you can stay safe, keep the car off the wall, keep it in your lane, and you only have about less than 4 seconds to make that choice. And I'm just like, y'all make it look so easy. It's not fair, but it's fine. I'll get there. I'm new. So I'm excited towards the end of this this break that we have. Yeah. Where we have a couple tricks up our sleeve. I think we're going to try out in some testing and, come into Tulsa with a bang. So.
Well, I'll ask you about that in a little bit. So when you were at Epping and you did the invitational, I know last year you talked about this. Uh, you used to do this. I remember you telling me on our podcast last year you were this humongous fan of Motor Nova and Sean Ellington, and now you get to meet him in the invitational.
Yeah, it all goes back to that group of street outlaw drivers that I grew up watching with my dad. That was a show that we used to tune into, and my dad's always been a door car kind of guy, street racer, NHRA racer, bracket racer, you name it, he's raced it, and door car related. And to know that, I used to think Minerva was so cool, still think he's really cool, but I named my dragster after him, Murder Dragster, and my scooter, Murder Scooter. They're both my dragster is all black, and then the body's yellow because it had to be yellow. But my scooter's all blacked out, and so I named it after him because I'm like, dude, this is so cool. And now I never, at that point in time when I first built that car by Dean McIlvain and bought that scooter, I never thought I would be running in the same series as Murder Nova, let alone competing against him. And to know that that's where I'm at today, only a couple years later, is just mind-blowing because I always wanted to be like my dad, and I feel like this is a way to kind of be like him, but in my own unique way. And, my dad and some of these guys go way back, and now I get to race with them. And it's so weird to think that it's almost hard to find the words to truly describe how I feel about the amount of progress that we've made and how far we have come. Saying now you're driving this crazy loud, crazy fast 92 Camaro, and you're racing against these legends, and you're 23. And I'm like, that's insane. It's just crazy. But I'm excited, and I'm happy to be here, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Your father, Troy Coughlin Sr., is a multiple-time drag racing champion. And you told me before we began this that he's been at all 5 of your No Prep King races.
Mm-hmm.
It's different for you guys to go from a sport in the NHRA to come over to this No Prep Kings series. Could you tell our audience what your father has thought of the MPK series and being there in person for the 5 races so far?
Gosh, when it all kind of started when we first decided to go the door car route, and it was 2020, because in 2019 he asked me, he's always been a door car kind of guy, and I had a dragster, and they called him Yard Darts. And I was in Charlotte, ZMAX Dragway, for a national event, and I lost first round, and it was super embarrassing. I had a major blonde moment, and you'll have that every now and then, but I was way red, and oh well. But I remember I'm beating myself up about it because I know I'm so much better than that, and I hold myself to extremely high standards. I'm very critical. And I know what I'm capable of. I know what I've accomplished, and I know I could do better. So when I do something like that, I'm like, dude, why? But my brother saw that I was pretty upset about it, and he's like, well, why don't you just come warm up the pro stock car, and I'll cheer you up a little bit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. I've always been a pro modified girl, but I'll take you up on your offer. And I go over there, and I'm sitting in the car, and those guys over to lead, they're awesome. They're great. They're funny. Just fun group to be around. And So I'm warming up the car, and I'm like, okay, this isn't too bad. This is kind of cool. And by the end of it, I was like, man, I want to do something cool like this. Like, this is so cool. Not that what I was currently doing wasn't cool. I think I was just so mad at my race car that I put it in timeout. And because it had been we'd been fighting it for a couple of months at that point. And we're like, you're done. You're riding the bench now. And my dad, I'll never forget this moment. Dad, I think we should build a door car. You should have seen his face. His eyes lit up. He's like, really? Like, it's almost like a kid opening this toy that he's wanted for so long on Christmas morning. It was just that expression. I'll never forget it. And so we started looking around, and we're like thinking about, well, what do we want to race? Like, and I was like, the only thing I knew really to do was Top Sportsman or Pro Mod. I mean, that's what my dad did, or he did Pro Stock too, but you know, that's all I kind of thought about. And he went to the MPK race when they came back from COVID. He went to the one at National Trails, and he goes, Paige, you have to check this out. This is so cool. So I'm like, all right. And I happened to write the article on that race for Drag Illustrated. So I got to meet a few racers and kind of learn about it from their perspective. And I'm like, wow, this actually does sound pretty cool. It's very different than what I'm used to, but let's go check it out. So I got invited by one of the drivers to come out and just hang out, experience it and whatnot. And it was actually Maple Grove.
I believe you said it was Justin Swanstrom, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Justin Swanstrom. I think he was like one of the first people I ever interviewed. Bless his heart, my first time around was so bad. I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm just so nervous. And, but he was super nice. I mean, he's like, yeah, come on out if you want to come check out the race. I mean, he wrote the story on it, come experience it. And I'm like, all right, sure. Yeah. I had actually been racing on the East Coast prior at ATCO, maybe like a week or so beforehand. And, I flew in, kind of pulled up to get inside the race. And I'm like, oh my Lanta, look at this line to get in here. I'm going to sit here for hours. I'm going to miss the race. And Justin was like, hey, why don't you come in this way? Like, I'll get you your wristband or whatever. I'm like, oh, bless, thank you. And I'm like walking around and like looking at everything. And I'm like, I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Look at all these people. Look at all these fans. And look at how they're interacting with the drivers. And, you know, how many ways the fans can get involved at an MPK race. And I'm just like mind blown. And I watched that race and then flew back home on Sunday, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm down for it. Because my dad was like, maybe we should do this. And I'm like, sign me up. Let's do it. So that's when we kind of talked to Mike Race, and we're like, hey, why don't we just use this car? Because my dad actually ran Golden Child back in 2009 in NMCA, I think in Pro Street. So the car has been close to the family for years. And we're like, yeah, why don't we just do this? And like, let's kind of build this car to run NPK, and we'll do that. And then the more and more I learned about it, the more and more excited I was. And I went out to Cordova that same year, and I'm like, yep, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is so cool. I can't wait to be a part of this. Like, you know, and I mean, I learned more about the future class, how that's where I was going to be starting out. And you run that class up until they decide they want to pull you up. So I'm like, oh, okay, sounds good. Like, super excited to be a part of that, you know, because it gives you an opportunity to like kind of learn the lay of the land, get your feet wet, and not only become comfortable with the car, but comfortable with the format, comfortable with your surroundings. Like, especially for coming from me, I've only experienced the NHRA, to something so different. So it was super duper awesome to really get to learn about MPK and how it functioned and what the drivers were like and what the fans were like a year before I got into it. So I couldn't believe it. And I think that's where it really started. It all started at ZMAX. My dad got so excited. was so happy. It's like finally said the magic words. And I love my dragster. It's still in timeout. I actually had it brought down here to Florida with me. My boyfriend Johnny machines, machine motors and for it, and so we can bracket race it down here, and that way it's getting some use out of it, and I get to enjoy it when we have some time off. And I still love my car. And Dean McElvain, the guy who built it, is just such a special place in my heart. He is such a gem, and he just won, so I'm super proud of him. But he built me such a beautiful car, I couldn't let it go, and that's why I said no the year prior to it. I loved my car too much. It's so special. Murder Dragster. I already formed a bond to it. I couldn't let it go. And I'm like, oh, I can't get rid of it. So I have a feeling that it's going to be with me for such a long time. And I love that car. And I can't part ways. We have an emotional bond, but that's where it's really started. And now that we're here today, I'm just like, wow, it took some time, but there was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that went into this operation. And it's happening. It's like surreal.
Yes. You talked about being on a break right now. For those that may not know, Street Outlaws No Prep Kings is slated to return after Pilgrim Media Group. They do some filming, maybe a 405 show right now, and also a Fastest in America show right now. At least that's what they did last year. We don't know. It's probably what they're going to do this year. Um, so you guys are going to return in a few weeks in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Keith Haney's drag strip, and are you still going to be a part of Daddy's Dave's team when you go into Tulsa? Do you know anything about maybe changes? Because people can be added or dropped at a moment's notice. You never know. So hopefully
Or
your success in Epping stays. And if Daddy Dave makes the call to drop you, somebody else is going to pick you up. So
yeah, I honestly don't know what's in store for Tulsa. It's a little daunting, but it's also like I look at it as an exciting challenge to take on. Like, you know what? No matter what, whether we get to stay with Team Daddy Dave or like if he wants to bring Kyle back or I get dropped or I go to a different team or I end up racing the Futures or Big Tire Outlaw that weekend. It's I'm so proud of where we're at, and I really can't have any sort of negative feeling or emotion to decisions like that. Like I love being a part of Team Daddy Dave, but I'm just so thrilled to be there and to get to race that I'm just kind of like, alrighty, just take it one day at a time, and whatever they decide, that's what they decide. So as of today, I'm still on Team Daddy Dave. I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm super excited to find out. And no matter what, I always have a soft spot because that was the first team that asked me up. And I really enjoyed bonding with those guys and girls, Kayla and Sarah and all the girls on that team as well. They were just so nice, and I just felt like such a part of the team. And I don't know, it was just really special. So I guess we'll find out. I'm right there with you. I don't entirely know, but I'm ready to find out. So yeah.
during this break, I've seen a lot of drivers, including Ryan Martin, maybe bringing back this red car. That's the Fireball Camaro.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys doing any changes during, not changes, but are you doing any maybe changes or maybe doing some tune ups to better improve your performance during this 6 week break that we're on for you guys?
You know, the fact that we do have such a long break has given us the time to kind of brainstorm. We've had some stuff on order, and it should come in right around, I want to say the time, maybe like a week before Tulsa. So it's perfect timing. And I've kind of kept it a little bit of a secret. I haven't revealed all of our tricks, but I know that my tuner Mike Reese has some serious ideas planned out to where this car is going to be fast. It's going to be competitive. Not that it wasn't before, but it's definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. And we're just going to continue to take it step by step like we have all year. and just keep refining and refining and refining it, and just truly continue to shape it into the work of art that it really is. And I know that we're planning on testing. We're jumping between 1 or 2 dates so far, and I'm really excited to see what we have in store, and I'm excited to get some things in the mail. I know they're coming, and I'm super excited about it. My dad's excited, so um, it's gonna make this car mean. It's gonna make it bad, and not that it wasn't before, but it's really gonna be nasty now. So I'm excited.
Do they still have this policy in place? I know it bit some other drivers where you can't test like 200 miles from a race.
Yep. Yeah. And that's for the invitational drivers. So, like for us, we would have to pick a track that's 200 miles away if we're testing within the 2 week period. Um, at least that's how I've come to understand it. So, like, I think even I haven't done the exact math, but I think Ohio's 200 plus miles away from Tulsa. So I don't think we run into a problem. I haven't checked yet. We haven't picked a place yet, but like trails is in our backyard, so it's super easy. But that is a rule. So I mean, we haven't had a problem. I mean, we've had great success all year. So the testing is just really going to be the time where we take what we have and just keep making it better and better and better, and kind of mix in these new things that we've been working on this like during this break. I keep wanting to say off season.
Yeah, off season.
It's not off season. It's only been a month. And you kind of take what we've got and implement it into what we already have. And I'm really excited. I had one of my guys go, Paige, do you want to go fast? And I was like, well, yeah, I'd have to say that I do. And he goes, well, you better be ready. And I was like, okay. Like, okay. And I'm like, oh, Lord. I have no idea what to expect, but I'm super excited. And I'm ready to take on the challenge. And I know that my guys are too, where we're ready to come guns a-blazing. I think we've got this car right where we want it now. We just need to give a little bit of juice, and it's right there. It's right there. I know my guys, they know what they're doing. They got it going on. I just need to drive, and we all work together super well. I can't wait to get back out. I can't wait.
I'm sure you might have heard this news the other day that there was a new event added, and it's in Las Vegas Motorsports Park. It's the furthest west that the tour has gone since it was established 6 seasons ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your thoughts on Las Vegas being added?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I have always wanted to race at Las Vegas. It is one of my favorite tracks. And when I heard that we were racing there, I was so excited. I'm like texting my guys. And that was where my dad's last race of the season was for Pro Mod, and they had their banquet there too. So, gosh, I just remember the last time in 2017 where we won the race and won the championship, and I'm like, we're in Las Vegas, and I'm like, this is so cool. That track is so nice. The track is so nice, and it's a ZMAX track as well. And I'm like, I can't believe we get to race it. I've never traveled so far to go to a race before, so I'm like super duper excited. I've always told my dad I've always wanted to race at Vegas. I always want to race at Vegas, and now I actually get to race at Vegas, and I'm like jumping for joy. And I'm excited to go get In-N-Out Burger. That was one of my favorite spots to go to when I was younger, so super excited.
Yes, and like I said, when you Las Vegas, I don't know if you heard me, big party capital. So I know a lot of people do that. You go out there.
I was never old enough racing when we were racing there. I just kind of like went with my dad. I was always the kind of kid who my mom might go shopping during the day if she came to the race, and she'd take my younger sister, but I always stayed at the racetrack. I never really left the racetrack. Anywhere my dad went, I went to. And I just wanted to be with him, wanted to be like him. That was it. And I know we'll all stay at the track, but we always like to try to find like a really good restaurant to all go out to on like a Thursday or a Sunday, like while we're there. And I'm just excited to see where we go. I haven't been there in a couple of years, so I'm really excited to be back. And it's fun to people watch, and I'm excited to just to be back there and get to see it all over again.
Paige, finally, what are your expectations on the final 3 months of the season? Now, with Las Vegas being added, you guys are going to go on this grueling stretch of 9 races over 3 months. So it's going to be like no weekends off. Like you'll have a weekend off, but it's going to be like very, very rarely during this stretch.
Yeah, it's gosh, I thought 5 was a lot. It'll be nothing after this, but it's just something I'm not used to. I've never traveled that much or as far away before. My dad always had a rule: you have to have all A's and B's on your report card, and you have to be within the top 3 points for Super Comp in the division if you want to travel outside the Midwest. And when I did get in the top 3 points, we went to D1, which is like perfect choice. I always loved racing there. Cecil was my favorite, absolute favorite track. But to know that we're going to be on the road now, I mean, I got a glimpse of what that's like with the 5 weeks, but it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of time spent in the airport. It's going to be, a lot of time working on the road and kind of trying to keep your life outside of racing going, like functioning, even though you're so busy. Like, it's all about balance. And gosh, I'm excited. I really liked it though. I really liked being on the road, being with my guys. And I feel like we haven't raced in a while. I took some time off after, I want to say, started in 2020. Like, I didn't race as much, and I feel like I haven't really gotten to race. I parked my other car, put it in timeout, and we dedicated more time and effort into building the MK car. So it just feels so awesome to kind of get back on the road and to really experience what this is like for everyone, jumping from track to track to track to track, and kind of learning what my dad must have felt back when he was doing a grueling schedule like this, running Pro Stock or Pro Mod. And I don't know, like I'm really excited to kind of visit all these different cities, all these racetracks. Some of them I've been to, some of them I have not. And just get back into the swing of things. It almost turns into a routine where you're home for 3 days, you go to work, you take care of the dog, and then the dog either comes with you racing or she stays with the babysitter, or my boyfriend will stay with her, and then you're back on the road, you're back going to work. So you have, for me, this is what I say, you have one job the first 3 days of the week, and then the last 4 days you have your other job while still trying to maintain your first half of the week job. And it's a lot. It's a lot. I'll be exhausted, but the fact that we get to race and to travel and to be surrounded by such a fun group of people and my like brothers, it's just, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm ready to take it on, and I'm ready to hit the road now. Like, if we wanted to go to Tulsa tomorrow and they want to bump the race up, I'm good for it. Let's go. But um it's gonna be a long stretch there, but I expect us to, well, I really want us to do well. I think one of my goals this year was just making consistent progress. This is something so new to me. The fact that I am able to learn, to feel, to hear things going on in the car during the lap, and like learning how to make decisions in such a short period of time. That's my goal. It really is. And the more we get to race, the more and more practice I get at that. So I'm super excited for that opportunity, and to know that we've already accomplished part of that goal. Like, winning a race was a bonus and being on the show was a bonus. But my main priority this year was just be like, get comfortable, or not so crazy nervous, a little bit more comfortable. You should never not be nervous. these cars can be very scary, but to just get into more of like a rhythm where it's like you have your routine down, you know how to do this, you know how to do this, you're able to kind of think strategically and smart and make those decisions when needed. And that's really my goal. I mean, I love to win races, I'd love to gain some points, I'd love to be a part of a team on the invitational, but I really want to become a skilled and precise driver like my dad is. I know I'll never be as good as him, but to just really think about what he's taught me and implement it into my driving is is just something I want to continue to work on and will work on for the rest of my racing career. But we can't do that without crazy race schedules. I mean, that's crazy amount of seat time. So I get so many opportunities to learn, and so that's really what I expect is just, persevere, stay positive, and know that no matter what, these other things are bonuses, but look at what you're doing, look at how you're improving and making a name for yourself and really putting yourself out there and only getting better. So that's what I expect.
Yes, and when you guys go on this grueling stretch, well, you already had a one grueling stretch, but when you really go on this other grueling stretch, it's going to be even worse than that 5 week stretch that you guys were on. I look at it like this: it's going to be a battle of a battle to stay alive because so many teams are going to have parts problems, and if you have parts problems, you can't race, and if you don't have that part, you're screwed.
Yeah, there is that factor, and we've been very blessed to not run into that issue. Knock on wood. Um, but my dad has always been kind of like, why don't we just get a spare? And I always looked at him so like, why on earth? Like, and it would be spares of just about anything. I mean, he'd have 13 pairs of sunglasses in his office inside the trailer,
What?
just in case. And I looked at him, I'm like, you're nuts. You're absolutely nuts. But now I understand. And now I don't have 13 sunglasses, but I'm like, I buy more and more and more because now I'm starting to understand. But he's not wrong. Like, he always wanted to have spares of things because you never know, and you always want to be equipped and you want to be ready to go. And sometimes it's not possible to get spares, and we've been very fortunate to be able to kind of stock our trailers with stuff that we might need. And we've been very fortunate and blessed to not run into major problems. And I think it will be really interesting to see who can stay in the game, like who can find those spares, who can get their cars turned around, who can, fight till the end to make every single race, because it's a lot. It's a lot of weekends gone right in a row, and I'm very blessed to be able to have the opportunity to go every single weekend, to have a job that allows me to go every single weekend, a family, sponsors, just people who are all involved in this racing operation who make it possible to where we can go to every single race left on the schedule. And you know what? Not everyone might have that opportunity. So I always try to be extremely thankful for it. Always say thank you to my dad, because I mean, he really helps make this possible, and the good Lord, you can't do anything without him. So just we've been very fortunate, and it'll be interesting to see who else can keep up and who else won't. So
Yeah, because I know Justin Swanstrom. He was just looking for a part that he gave to a
oh yeah,
fan. He posted on social media, and he had to say, "Sorry, I need this part back. They gave it to
oh,
you."
that poor
Because he
kid.
was like, "It's on back order, and I need it." And so that was crazy. But
See,
Paige,
that's where the spares come in. That's why
yeah,
you get spares.
yeah,
That's it's a T senior coming out in me. That's the older and older I get, the more and more I'm like, damn, that sounds just like my dad. Then I'm like, ooh. But no, that's it happens, and that poor kid. That poor kid. But
yeah.
oh well. So yeah.
Paige, thank you for joining me tonight, and everyone outside of being on Facebook Live and YouTube Live right now, that this audio podcast will be uploaded onto Rumble, BitChute, and Spotify for podcasters in the coming days. Paige, thank you for joining us again tonight. Good luck the rest of the season. maybe in a few weeks I will see you at Maple Grove for the MPK race. Maybe if they allow me in, we'll see. Maybe you have to pull some strings for me to get in there, or maybe I'll just call up Brian Martin because I got his phone number and we'll see if he'll let me in. But we'll see. But thank you for joining me again tonight. And so Gina said, thanks for joining us. And good luck on this brutal stretch that you guys have coming up. And I'll talk to you again soon.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure, and look forward to potentially meeting you in Maple Grove again. And I'm ready to do it. Let's go. Thank you for having me.